boxing fans, we are back. We are back. Yes, we haven't been around for the past 2 weeks, 3 weeks. And that is entirely down to me because I broke my phone. Me and my friend Darkside, we record our episodes on our phones. The budget is not it's not there yet for big cameras, mate. Do you know what I mean? We're only little fish. But yes,
Yeah.
the phone broke. Couldn't afford to buy another phone. And now I've got a new phone and now we're back in action. Um,
Yes.
good things take time. And I had to get a good phone. So it took time. Do you know what I mean? The mathematics made sense. Anyways, let's get back on track. You guys are watching Saved by the Bell podcast. We are back with regular content. We're going to be here every week. We're going to be in your faces, all over your FYPs. And we've got a good year coming. We've got a lot of fights coming. But enough of that. Before we kickstart today's episode, we're going to give a tribute to George Foreman. George Foreman passed away while we weren't around, so it's only right we give our tributes. Even if it's a late tribute, we're still going to give our tributes to George Foreman. We're going to talk about the weekend that just happened, the fights. A couple of fights we'll mention, give our review, give our breakdowns on that fight. And moving forward this weekend, we've got quite a bit. We've got quite an action-packed weekend. April Madness, shall I say. All right, cool. Before we kickstart the episode, first things first, Darkside, how are you doing, my friend? How have you been? What have you been up to the past couple of weeks?
Yeah, man, I'm doing good. I've just been keeping my head down, keeping my eye on the boxing here and there, see what's going on, see what new developments are happening. Anything interesting popping up, I'm thinking, hey, we could talk about it in the podcast. So, yeah, man, I've been good. How about you, my bro? You been well as well? You been good?
Yeah, just getting better, moving along, and hopefully praying for better days, shall I say.
Yes, sir.
But anyways, let's get into the episode today. So, George Foreman passed away recently. He passed away about, I think, 3 weeks ago, 2 weeks ago. 2 to 3 weeks ago, he's passed away. I can't remember the exact day that he passed away. But George Foreman has passed away. One of the legends, one of the OGs, one of boxing icons. You know what I mean? It's sad because even though I never met him, never knew him, but I still feel like I've lost a friend, if that makes sense. It's
Yeah.
very hard to explain. I always say this, when anyone from the boxing community passes away, it's a sad day for us because the boxing community is very small indeed.
Yeah.
And, you know, it doesn't matter whether it's a boxer, whether it's a coach, manager, promoter, journalist. When someone passes away, it's always a sad day in boxing. And George Foreman, man, what a crazy story. You know what I mean? Netflix documentaries made about him. We know his story coming up in the ghetto, growing up in the trenches, fighting to survive, fighting racism at the time, then getting in trouble with the law, getting sent to juvenile, coming out of juvenile, turning to boxing. Boxing literally saved his life. Do you know what I mean? Boxing is more than a sport. Do you know how many people's lives have been saved by the sport of boxing? It's absolutely crazy. And then me and you, we already know what's happened. George Foreman went and become a champion. Had a massive fight in Africa, rumble in the jungle with Muhammad Ali. Retired, became a priest, lost all his money, came back, became the oldest heavyweight champion. He made more money off the George Foreman grills than he made in his entire boxing career. That's absolutely crazy. But that's the story of George Foreman. Well, not entirely, but just a quick rundown. But I want to get your thoughts on this, man. Give us your little give us your thoughts on George Foreman. What did he mean to you? And how should he be remembered by?
Yeah, some good questions in there, man. But first, I'll just start with, rest in peace to George Foreman. Condolences to his friends, his family, and people in the boxing community that knew George Foreman. I mean, he's had a fantastic story, and I think you broke it down really well there. You gave a really short sort of synopsis of his career and his life and things he's done. But George Foreman has had a massive impact on many people's lives for various different reasons. I mean, you look at him as a person. He's such a wonderful person, a wonderful human being, a kind human being. You look at him in the ring, a brutal warrior, a savage, one of the hardest punchers the heavyweight division has ever seen, the oldest heavyweight champion that we've ever seen as well. And what does he mean to me? Well, to me, George Foreman is a complete legend. I know when we think about, or even casual people may think about boxing, they always think about Mike Tyson and Muhammad Ali. Those are the two names that always stand out. But I do believe that George Foreman should have an equal amount of weight put on his own name for the things that he's done inside boxing and also outside of boxing. You know, George Foreman retired from boxing and then became a pastor. So he's obviously trying to be doing good things for people and staying under the, you know, under the roof of religion as such. But you know, it's a really sad loss in the boxing world. Of course, we're all got to go at some time, but I just wasn't expecting it. It was a bit of a sudden sort of thing to happen, really, if I'm being honest. I didn't hear any whispers of anything like him being unwell or anything like that. But yeah, man, may George Foreman rest in peace, and he's gone but never forgotten.
Most definitely, man. Listen, like you said, everybody has their day. You know what I mean? One thing is guaranteed in life, and that is death. Um, but we must always do good in life, always keep it humble, show respect. Ultimately, once we're gone, we want to be remembered as the good guy, you know what I mean? The person that showed love and showed respect and showed courage. And that's what we can say for George Foreman. He showed all those and above. So it's a very sad loss for the boxing community. May he rest in peace.
Yeah.
Condolences to his family. And George Foreman is gone, but never forgotten.
Yeah, they need to try and get George Foreman, see if they can get him in Undisputed, the boxing game.
Oh,
That would be
most definitely.
sick.
That most definitely. I think that will happen. I think, we could do a whole episode about Undisputed, but yeah,
Yeah.
that's an episode for another day. Do you know what I mean? All right, let's move on now, swiftly to the events that took place this weekend. So, I know we didn't do an episode last week, but me and Darkside, we've been speaking about the boxing that was on this weekend that just happened. So we was going to speak about it on today's episode, which is we normally do our episodes on Monday, release them late Monday evening, Tuesday morning, along those
Yeah.
lines. So you get the sort of picture, you know what I mean? Anyway, so there was a WBA final bridgerweight eliminator. Now, I bet you're thinking WBA and bridgerweight, what's going on here? Well, yes, WBC was the first organization to kickstart this new project. This is the 18th division in the sport of men's boxing. Why did they make the bridgerweight division? Well, it's to close the gap for cruiserweight fighters and the heavyweight fighters. Some people that are cruiserweight fighters can't make the weight for heavyweight, and
Yeah.
some guys who are heavyweight can't make the weight for cruiserweight. So they say, you know what? Let's build a gap. Let's build a bridge in the middle, and we'll
Yeah.
call it bridgerweight. Now, a lot of people have mixed opinions. They say, "Oh, it's a BS. It's BS. This and that." Um, my opinions. Let's wait and see. Let's see
Yeah.
what this. Let's see what this division has got to offer. Remember, it's only what 4 years since it started. WBC started this in 2020, if I'm not mistaken.
I'm not too
And
sure which year it was.
shortly afterwards, in 2023, the WBA also joined. Do you know what I mean? So the WBA, WBC, they clearly see something in the bridgerweight division that we don't. But ultimately, let's get back onto this fight. So there was a WBA final bridgerweight eliminator, and the fighters that were on this, well, that were fighting for this, were La Cruz, who is a Cuban fighter. He was going up against a guy called Dylan Prozific. Prozific? Hopefully, I'm pronouncing it right. But yeah, anyways, I already said it from the get go. I said this from the get go. I said this is going to be a walk in the park for La Cruz. Julio Cesar La Cruz Perez. Got
Yeah.
his name correct, you know what I mean? But yeah, I said this was going to be a walk in the park for Perez because he's got too much skills. Take a look at his amateur pedigree; it's crazy. He's a two-time gold Olympian, one time in Rio de Janeiro and one time in Tokyo. We have to put some respect on his name. If you are a gold medalist, you have to get respect given. Do you know what I mean? You fought the best in the world. You know what I mean?
Especially twice.
Twice. Once was in the light heavyweight division and once was in the heavyweight division.
All right.
You know what I mean? And the numerous of other championships that he's been involved in. Do you know what I mean? There's so much. The list goes on. It's actually crazy. If you guys want to have a look, go and check out on Google his Wikipedia. The lists are crazy. Now you've got this guy, an amateur. He's only turned pro, I think, back in 2020. So this is the case with most high level amateur fighters. They turn pro very late. La Perez's amateur pedigree, why he turned professional late, which is the case with most amateurs, high level amateurs. I mean, we can name a few: Beterbiev, Usyk, Bivol, Lomachenko. The list goes on and on and on. Anyways, let's get back on track. So he was going up against a guy called Dylan Pacific. Now I'll be real with you, no disrespect, but who the fuck is that guy? Yeah, Dylan is not a high level fighter. Take a look at his last couple of fights. As soon as you apply pressure on him, he crumbles like a pie. You know what I mean? He crumbles like a custard cream biscuit. You know when you press the custard cream and you squeeze it, it just starts crumbling. So I said from the get-go to myself and you, I said, listen, as soon as La Cruz applies pressure, it's over. And what happened? We saw 5 knockdowns in this fight. The first one, I was surprised. I was like, oh, the underdog knocked down Perez. It was a left hook. I think La Perez, I think he was a bit lazy because maybe he didn't respect the opponent that was in front of him, because we saw his hands were down, his chin was out, he was, like just moving around. And I think he might have underestimated Dylan. This is the Bridgerweight division. These are big guys, heavy guys. One punch changed the fight. Left hook landed, first round. Second round, sorry. La Cruz got dropped. La Cruz got back up and dropped Dylan back. And it was all over from there. I think La Cruz said, you know what? I gave you too much credit. Let me just finish you now. And we saw what happened. I think it was another 2 knockdowns, and the last knockdown was a body shot, and the referee came in and said, nah, we've seen enough. And there you go. That was the result of the fight. Quickly and swiftly, I want to ask you, what's your thoughts on the Bridgerweight category? What's your thoughts on La Cruz? And just give us your opinion, you know what I mean?
First of all, on the Bridgerweight thing, the whole concept of the Bridgerweight division, some people like it, some people don't like it. I think it's a good idea. And it's for the reason that you explained. Sometimes the cruiserweights are a little bit they're too big for cruiserweight, but they're too small to be a fully fledged heavyweight that can compete because they're a bit undersized. So I think having that ability to bridge that gap and having a new division is great. However, from the governing bodies, from their position, the reason why they're doing it is not really for that. They're doing it because they create a new division, they create more titles. It means they get more money. That's what it means for them. But I think for the boxer's point of view, it's a good idea. It's going to take time to become good, in my opinion, because I believe that if you look at the belts and how prestigious they are, it all depends on how long they've been around. The longer they've been around, the more history they have, and the more credible they become over a period of time. So I do believe it will become credible, but at the moment, it's just 2 guys sort of fighting at a slightly lower weight until the division gets more competition in it. But overall, I think it's a great idea. On the fight, I have to say, I was very shocked but impressed with that left hook from Prazovic. That left hook came out of completely nowhere. It was a nice, whippy little left hook. And I think that caught La Cruz off guard. I think La Cruz kind of was a bit surprised and maybe a bit shell-shocked from that, and thought, you know what? I need to tuck up now and start whipping in some shots and see if I can drop him back. And seeing him drop Prazovic after Prazovic dropped him in the second round, I thought, oh, this is great. This is the beginnings of a great fight that we're about to see. But it wasn't to be for Prazovic. Prazovic he basically got a bit bullied in there, in my opinion. Once that first knockdown happened, it was the beginning of the end, in my opinion. It was just constant knockdown after knockdown after knockdown. And by the time he got dropped with those body shots, it's like, what more do you really want to see from the guy? He's already dropped you 4 times. You're getting beaten up. You're not really throwing much back in offense. So it was time to call it quits. And yeah, fair play to La Cruz. For Prazovic, it's probably not the end of his career, but do I see him becoming a world champion if that division develops more? I mean, probably not. But yeah, we'll have to wait and see what the next fight is going to be like in the Bridgerweight division. That will be quite interesting to see.
All right, we are only in the early stages of the Bridgerweight division, so it's exciting. The road ahead is unknown, and we're here for the ride. You know what I mean? We are enjoying the development of this new weight category for the men's boxing. Okay, cool. Let's get the bridgerweight out the way. Now let's talk about another fight. This was for a unification fight. You know what I mean? Who am I talking about? What am I referring to? Well, let me remind you. Let me, you know what I mean, jog your memory. We had Jaron Boots Ennis versus Stanionis. This was for a welterweight unification fight. We were going to see who we would see in this fight who would be the new king of the 147-pound division. IBF, WBA, and Ring Magazine titles were on the line. Now, before we get into this fight, I do want to say I made a prediction, and the prediction I got was wrong. I made a prediction that Stanionis would beat Ennis on a points-based decision. Now, why did I mention that? I'll give you a number of reasons why I made that prediction. Well, you got to look at Stanionis' amateur pedigree. He's got, I think, triple the amateur fights than Ennis has. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
If you look at his style of fighting, is aggressive, he's front-footed, he likes throwing combination shots, he's a pressure fighter. I thought maybe with all these combinations, he might have enough just to skim a win on a points-based decision. I never said he will knock out Ennis. I never said he will knock him down or beat him up, but I said he might have enough to win on a points-based decision, because what do high-level amateurs have? They are good at points scoring system, points scoring. So I thought with all these combinations, he might have enough to beat Ennis on a points-based decision. But boy, was I wrong. This fight ended in round 6. We saw what happened. I think I only gave Stanionis one round in this fight. Maybe I was round 5, maybe round 2-ish, but I don't think so. But I think I gave him round 5 to Stanionis. The rest of the rounds were all to Jaron Boots Ennis. Ennis was in control of this fight. He dictated the pace. He kept his distance. He didn't waste any shots from orthodox to southpaw. That's what you call a classic textbook boxer. You know what I mean? He's a textbook boxer. He's a banger. He's a brawler. He's the whole package. You know what I mean? And I believe that he can clear the 147-pound division. He can become an undisputed champion. But before we get into that talk there, I want to hear your opinion on this fight. How did you think the fight went? And after that, we can get into a little talks of what's next and what's coming up.
Yeah, man. Well, I thought the fight went pretty much how I sort of imagined it. You know, based on the last performance from Jaron Boots Ennis, I did think he was going to try and put in the most work during this camp and also try and have the best performance possible. So I did think that Boots would win, but I didn't think it was going to be like that. I did think it was going to be a lot more competitive. I think Stanionis wasn't very active, whereas Boots was very active. Stanionis was catching Ennis with some really good counter shots, but it wasn't enough, and his punches weren't hard enough to do any considerable damage that would cause any change in the fight, so to speak. I do somewhat agree with you as well. I thought in the second round, he did land some really good counter shots, but I still think that you could have given Ennis that round. Round 5 was probably the only round that I thought Stanionis did quite well. He landed a lot of counter shots, and his jab was fairly impressive in that round. Outside of that, I'd say it was just a really crushing and dominant performance by Ennis. He used his range well. I think it's like you said as well. Ennis, he's a power puncher. Do you know what I mean? He is a counter puncher as well. He's got a lot of knockouts. I think it's something like 20, 28 knockouts or something like that.
Yeah, it's like 29, 28 knockouts. Yeah.
And he's had just over 30 something fights. So the guy can really punch. Like, impressive performance from Jaron Boots Ennis. And I think now it's onwards and upwards from here on out. As we were saying to each other the other day, I think if Ennis can make the weight, he should try and stay there and clear it out and become undisputed. However, if he wasn't to clear out the division and moves up to the 154 division, I don't think anyone would say, oh, well, you couldn't beat the top guys in that division. That's why you left the upper division. I think people just say, okay, he's done enough. He's proven himself. Now he's going up to a higher division for some bigger fights.
Yeah.
To Ennis, we'll have to wait and see who he's going to fight next. But our hope is going to be another title shot for him.
And most definitely, man. I mean, listen, the options are endless for Ennis. You know what I mean? He could stay in the 147-pound division and clear the division and become an undisputed champion, which I believe he can. I believe he can beat Mario Barrios. I believe he can beat Brian Norman Jr. And so he can become an undisputed champion in 147. No problem. Now, here's the thing. Can he do the same thing in 154-pound division? Can he replicate what he did in 147 to 154? I think to a certain extent, yes. But this fight is a prime example. We saw that Stanionis was landing clean, hard shots, solid shots on the jaw, on the chin of Ennis. Yeah, Ennis ate those shots, but wait till he faces someone who's a harder hitter, who's actually got punch power. And when let's say for an example, a Virgil Ortiz Jr., let's say if he landed the same punches that Stanionis was landing, damn, I don't think Ennis will be standing if he got hit with the Virgil Ortiz Jr.
No.
Do you know what I mean? Or if he was to go up against a guy called Sebastian Fundora, tricky. He's like you're fighting an Eiffel Tower. How's he gonna do? How's he gonna face? Is Errol Spence in the 154 division as well?
I'm not sure what's happening with Errol Spence. They were at 147, of course. That's where they fought for the titles with Terence Crawford. But I think he has moved up, or he was saying he was going to move up to 154. I don't know.
Yeah, okay. And the same thing for Crawford. Is he still at 154?
I'm not too sure because we know he's having that fight with them.
Yeah.
Just
I
bulking.
mean, Crawford did fight at 154, so if he does move up,
he's a champion. 5'4". He beat Madrimov, didn't he?
Yeah, but who knows if he's going to stay there? But let's just say Crawford does stay there, and the options are endless. The fights are endless. There's many names to pick from the 154 division, but I believe the recipe for success may not be as great as the 154 division. But listen, who am I? I'm just H. Who am I? I'm a waffler. What do I know? What do me and you know? We're just waffling. Do you know what I mean? But yes, that's the weekend recap done. Now we're gonna move on to the following week, people. So now we're gonna get on to this week, the following week that's up and coming. We're gonna talk about quite a few fights. We're not gonna mention every single fight on the card, but we're gonna mention quite a few fights that we want to talk about and that we are interested in, and I'm pretty sure you guys will be interested in as well. So the first guy might be unexpected. You might not have heard of him, but we're gonna talk about Josh Padley. Now, if you don't know who Josh Padley is, Josh Padley was working 9 to 5 and he was a professional boxer. He got the call for the last crescendo. He was a last minute replacement for Shakur Stevenson because Floyd Schofield was he couldn't make it. So they replaced Floyd Schofield with Josh Padley. Nobody heard of him. Nobody knows him. Everyone's like, who the fuck is that guy? Blah, blah, blah. Anyways, Josh Padley put up a good performance, even though he lost the fight, even though he was outclassed. He showed courage, he showed heart, he showed determination, and he gave it his all. And that's enough to secure yourself a deal. And shortly after that, he came back to England. Guess who signed him? Matchroom signed him. They scooped him up quick. Shortly after that, Josh Padley left his 9 to 5. He's no longer fitting solar panels. He is a full-time professional boxer. And the reason I wanted to mention Josh Padley is because now we're going to see what you're made of. Because prior to the Shakur Stevenson fight, you was working 9 to 5, fitting solar panels, and then going to the boxing gym for 1-2 hours, and that's it. That was your regime. Now you've bought yourself a house, you're financially secure, and you are going to be in full training camp. Your mind, your effort, your energy is 100% ready just for this fight. So now we're going to see what you're really and truly made of. We saw what you was made of before, and I say it was pretty good. It was pretty decent. Do you know what I mean? But now we're going to see what you're really made of. You're a full-time professional boxer. And that's why I had to mention Josh Padley. I know a lot of people might not know him, but I had to mention him. Do you know what I mean? He's one of our own, and it's only right. So, you know what I mean? If you want to give quickly your thoughts on Josh Padley, his little story, and after that we can move on to the up-and-coming fights. The other up-and-coming fights.
Yeah, just a super brief touch on it. I think this is what is the result of putting your heart and soul into a fight. People know Josh Padley's not at the level of a Shakur Stevenson, not even anywhere near world level. But what he proved is that he's got heart, he's got grit and determination, and he's not the worst boxer. He's actually somewhat of a decent boxer. So I would say fair play to Josh Padley. Like the guy, if he just keeps his head down, just keeps doing what he's doing, he can make a fairly decent living now that he's been signed off Matchroom. They will promote him really well. They'll put him in with the right type of opposition that gives a chance but stays competitive. And I think he's going to have a bright and prosperous future. Is he going to be a world champion? I think that's highly unlikely, if I'm being honest. However, stranger things have happened in boxing before. So you just never know, man. But fair play to Josh Padley, and I wish him all the best. We'll be looking on and supporting him.
Most definitely. Anyway, let's quickly and swiftly move on. On the same card for the main event, we've got Dalton Smith. He is in action as well. Now, I'll be honest with you, I was not prepared for the the Dalton Smith card, but my co-host will give you a little rundown on this, and then obviously I'll give you my 2 pence on Dalton Smith as a fighter as well. So yeah, Dark Side, if you could take over for this one, please. Thank you.
Yeah, sure, man. So we've got Dalton Smith versus Matteo Germain. The records are as they stand. Dalton Smith 17-0 with 13 by KO. Then we've got Matteo Germain. He's got 26 wins, 11 by knockout, 2 losses, and 1 draw on his record. So what that tells me is they're putting Dalton Smith against an opponent who's quite experienced, considering where Dalton Smith is in his career. But the punch factor is not really there to scare him. It's more or less, can you box with this guy? Can you show your boxing ability, get through the rounds, and show what you can really do? Because I think most people by now know that Dalton Smith he's a power puncher. The guy can really hit hard, but he's also quite a good boxer, but he's more of a thinker. He doesn't throw a lot of wasteful shots. Do you know what I mean? So I have to be honest, I don't know too much about this guy, Matteo Germain. I have heard about him once before. But I would say the experience factor is going to be an interesting thing to see how the experience influences the fight between these two guys. So who do I think is going to win? I think it's fairly obvious when you got someone who's 17-0 versus someone who's, 26-2 with 1 draw. You're going to go with the unbeaten guy, aren't you? I think Dalton Smith is going to win this. I'm going to make a prediction that he's going to probably win by knockout. And the reason why I say that is because looking at Matteo Germain's record, you can see that the 2 losses he's had on his record were both stoppages, which tells me he may have a defensive deficiency or maybe has a chin deficiency. I'm not sure which one it is, but we'll definitely find out against in this fight, the Dalton Smith fight against Matteo Germain. So that's my thoughts. What's your thoughts, my bro? I know you don't know too much, but what do you think about this?
I most definitely. Do you know what? I was just unprepared. There's so much going on, and there's so many fights happening that I even forgot to do my research and think that we was going to talk about the Dalton Smith fight. Do you know what I mean? And one thing I would say, poor promotion, very poor promotion, because I didn't even hear about this up until I think yesterday. So very poor promotion. Anyways, let me get onto the fight as well. Dalton Smith, he's the real deal. He's the real hype. There's many fighters that are hyped up, but that they're not the real deal. Dalton Smith is the real deal. Whatever you hear about Dalton Smith, best believe it's the real deal. It's the truth. He is a serious candidate. He will be a future world champion. You know what I mean? He's got the talent. He's got the power. He is hungry. He's a lion. He's up and coming. Trust me. Whatever you hear about Dalton Smith, he is the real deal. Now, in terms of this fight here, I believe that he's going to make a statement. Dalton Smith is going to make a statement because every single fight that he's getting himself involved in recently has always been a level above, level above, level above, level above. Do you know what I mean? And this fight was just another step up from his last fight. So we're going to see what Dalton Smith is made of. Well, I'm pretty sure me and you both know how it's going to go. But we're going to see his skill set. We're going to see... I do want to say one thing. I want to see Dalton Smith take his time. But don't go in for the kill straight away. You know what I mean? Just box, show us your skills, throw a few jabs, entertain the crowd, and then go for the kill. You know what I mean? Instead of going for the straight kill. You know what I mean? You gotta have a little foreplay before you know what I mean, do your thing. You know what I'm saying? Anyways, enough of me waffling. My prediction is also early stoppage. I believe Dalton Smith will get rid of this Germain Matthews guy within 6 rounds. TKO KO is my prediction. There we have it. All right, cool. Let's move on. Now, on the same night, but over in America, we've got an undisputed women's featherweight fight. Who am I talking about? Who am I referring to? Does it ring a bell? Let me tell you. Gabriela Fundora. Still don't ring a bell. She's a sister of Sebastian Fundora. Does that ring a bell? Okay, let's get back on track. So Gabriela Fundora is the current undisputed champion. She holds the IBF, WBA, WBC, WBO World Featherweight titles. Put some respect on her name. She is talented. She is gifted. She is tall, 5'9". She's got a crazy reach. Clearly she has all the advantages. She has all the skill sets, and she's got power. She's got 15 wins. She's got 15 wins. 7 of those wins coming via knockout. No losses on her resume. The record speaks for itself. You know what I mean? Men lie, women lie, numbers don't. Now, Gabriela Fundora is going up against a girl called Marilyn Badillo. I'll be real with you. This is going to be a walk in the park, but I am going to give you a brief info on Marilyn. Marilyn her record is 19 wins, 1 loss on her resume, and she's only got 3 knockouts on her resume. So the punch power is not there. Her skill set is not there. She ain't got the height. I think she's like 5'4", if I'm not mistaken. So there's a big height difference. And bro, this fight is not carrying the distance. You know what I mean? I am predicting a stoppage. Sebastian, bless you, mate, bless you. I am predicting a stoppage. I reckon Gabriela Fundora will get rid of Marilyn within round 6 to round 8. She will get rid of Marilyn. The skill set is too much. The height reach is too much. Like, it's just too much. Marilyn won't even be able to get to Gabriela Fundora. She won't. She just ain't got the skill set to get in and out. She ain't got the power. She ain't got the speed, and she's at a disadvantage. But hey, ultimately, on Saved by the Bell podcast, no matter how big you are, no matter how small you are, no matter how popular you are or not popular, we always like to mention women's boxing. We always like to show them the same love that we show the men's boxing. Do you know what I mean? Quickly and swiftly, briefly, if you want to talk about Gabriela Fundora, let us know what your thoughts is. And yeah, man.
Yeah, man. I don't know. I have to be honest. I've seen Gabriela Fundora fight a few times, and I think that there's probably no one in the division that's going to give her any real trouble, if I'm honest. She's most probably going to have to move up division or something like that, because I don't think she's going to have any competition. As far as this fight, I think the one thing that is the only advantage of the other girl is the experience. She's got experience in her favor, but everything else is going against her. I mean, pretty much there isn't any other advantages that she has other than the experience. That would be it. You never want to write off an opponent, but what I would say is, if you've got someone tall and rangy who's also got a big punch on them, and you've got someone short and not rangy and also doesn't have a big punch, normally those factors make a fighter who would be technically quite good, but would be beaten by someone who has a lot of punch power. I'll give you an example. Sonny Edwards versus Jesse Bam Rodriguez. Sonny Edwards is probably one of the best technical boxers we've seen in 21st century. However, he hasn't got the punch power. And when he gets into a fight with someone who also has got punch power, then it becomes a problem, because it's not a technical chess match anymore. Now it's like you don't want to get hit. Whereas before you might have been technical, but you don't mind being hit with a few shots. Now you've got to be careful. So that's just a little example of when you've got all the things going against you, it can be really tough.
Most definitely. Listen, we always talk about women's boxing. We always big them up. So big up to both of these ladies. And we're going to see what happens on April the 19th. Do you know what I mean? All right, cool. Let's move on now. We've got one more fight to talk about. I want to briefly mention the undercard as well. This fight will be taking place on Easter Sunday. Very highly anticipated fight. Do you know what I mean? Me and you have both been waiting for this fight. at certain times, I thought it was going to be. At certain times, I thought this fight won't even get made. It was uncertain if the fight is going to get made. We didn't know if it was going to get made. And when it did get made, we saw some drama in the past week or two with the contracts. So I don't know. It was sticky. It was sticky. I didn't know if it was going to get made, but the fight is on, and it's good news. And now, who am I talking about? What am I talking about? I'm talking about the rematch between Ben Whittaker and Liam Cameron. Boy. We've got some unfinished business. You know what I mean? We saw what happened in the first fight. Fucking WWE Royal Rumble elimination. Do you know what I mean? Mans were flying over the ropes. Yeah, you would have thought this was the elimination match. You know what I mean? Damn. I mean, listen, you can't end the fight on a note like that. You can't end it like that. You know what I mean? We have to have a rematch because we don't even know what happened. You know what I mean? Ben Whittaker has shown us no proof of his injuries. He claimed his neck was injured, his spine was injured, his foot was injured, and anytime he gets asked about it, he makes sarcastic jokes. So we don't really know if it was even if it was serious or not. But if you watch the fight and you see both men tumble over the ropes, you see Liam Cameron's, I think it was his coach or trainer. One of them comes over to him and says, "Cameron, get up. He's faking his injury. Get up, and you win the fight. He's faking the injury." Do you know what I mean? And Ben Whittaker was just out there. Now I'm not saying Ben Whittaker was faking his injury, but we have to see proof. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's almost like saying, it's almost like saying, it's like saying when you pulling a sickie for work, you got to show them evidence. You got to show them why you was not there. You know what I mean? So it's the same thing. We ain't seen no evidence. It's only word of mouth. Word of mouth is not good, my friend. It doesn't hold up in court. You know what I mean?
True.
If that was the case, fucking everyone would be in jail right now. You know what I mean? But anyways, enough of the waffling. I just want to quickly and swiftly, briefly mention the undercard before we get into the prediction for the main card. So we've got undercard. We've got Fraser Clark is making his return. But you know what's funny? This whole event is actually called, I think it's called Resurrection or something. And it makes sense because every single one that's on this card has taken a loss.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So if we look at the co-main event, we've got Fraser Clark. He's making his return to the ring after getting brutally knocked out by Fabio Wardley. Now, Fraser Clark is going up against a guy called Ebenezer Tete. Who is Ebenezer Tete? Fuck knows. But me and Darkside know him. The guy's he's a fucking unit, you know what I mean? Anyways, he lost against Dillian White. Listen, one thing I can say, he may not have the skill set, he may not have the personality, but the guy's a fucking unit, you know what I mean? You keep on hitting him in the head, the guy's not going nowhere. I don't know what his head's made of. He's like a fucking mega mind, you know what I mean? He's not going down. But let's see if Fraser Clark has got the power and the skill sets to beat Ebenezer Tete. I'm pretty sure he's got the skill set, but does he have the power? Fuck knows, we'll find out. We also have on the card, this is a funny one. I don't know if you know this, but this is a funny one. We've got Tyler Denny. He's back in action after he lost to Hamza Shiraz. He is going up against. I'm laughing as I speak. He's going up against a guy called the Soldier. Elvis, is it Elvis Ahoga or something? Anyway, the Soldier. If you don't know who I'm talking about, go watch the fight between the Soldier and Callum Simpson. This guy is a funny guy. This is what you call blockbuster entertainment. He will build up the fight. He can sell tickets. He's a funny guy, and why not? He said he's gonna be back, and he is back. So he's back on the resurrection card. Is the Soldier going to dominate? Because he says he's the Terminator, he's the Predator, he's the black Schwarzenegger. You know Arnold Schwarzenegger, he's the black. That's what he says. Anyways, let's see this fight. You know what? I'm actually excited about this fight. We've got a funny guy on this card. So yeah, I think that's everyone on the main card.
Yeah.
If I miss someone, forgive me. But anyways, let's get on to the main event card. So now we're gonna start breaking down this fight. We're gonna talk about some pros and cons, and we're gonna give our predictions. But before I get into that, let's talk about the fight. I want to hear your thoughts on the fight. Give me your thoughts on the first fight, how it ended, the controversy, and did you think the fight was gonna get made?
Yeah, man. So on the first fight, I did think that Whittaker was getting caught with a lot of shots that he hasn't been getting caught with before in the past. And I think that's probably a reason why a lot of people thought, well, maybe he was just trying to find a way out of there because he was getting hit so much and he didn't want to take more damage because he thought maybe he was going to lose. I don't know what the truth is. I don't know whether it is a lies or whether it is a truth. And we might not ever find out that information, to be honest. But one thing I do know is this fight is going to be good. And I'll tell you why. Because Liam Cameron now has belief. I don't think that Liam Cameron had the belief that he was going to do as well as he did in the first fight. And this fight, I believe he could potentially do better. Potentially. However, I think what happened is not Liam Cameron. I think Ben Whittaker tried to make a statement by trying to knock out Liam Cameron, and he was too technically good to get easily knocked out. And that kind of made Whittaker tired, and because he was tired, he was getting hit with more shots. So I think this matchup that's coming this Sunday is going to be very important for both fighters. If Liam Cameron wins, it's huge because he's beaten a silver medalist, someone who's highly touted to be a top prospect coming through. However, on the other side, if Ben Whittaker comes and puts in a good performance, then people will say, okay, the last fight, maybe you weren't performing that well, but you proved it in the rematch that you were able to beat him. So fair play, and onwards and upwards. So yeah, that's my thoughts on it. And yeah, you let me know what your prediction is, and then I'll tell
This
you
is this is a win-win situation for Liam Cameron.
Yeah.
The whole country is behind him. I guarantee you, even if Liam Cameron loses the fight, guess what? Nobody will care.
No.
Everybody will still give Liam Cameron his props, his credit, and they will give him his flowers, even if he loses. But this is a win-win situation for Liam Cameron. Why? Because the country love Liam Cameron. The people are behind Liam Cameron. I don't think I've heard one person rooting for Ben Whittaker.
Not now. Everyone's saying he's Ben Whittaker now, so no one's.
Everybody is saying he's Ben Whittaker, from professional boxers to people in the audience. Everybody is saying that Ben is a Whittaker. They don't like his arrogance. They don't like his slick talking. They don't like his style, his lavish lifestyle. They don't like it. I mean, this is England. This is not America. We're a bit more reserved over here. Do you know what I mean? We like humble beginnings. Like, let's take a look at Amir Khan. Why do you think he's so loved? We look at Ricky Hatton. Why do you think he's so loved? We look at Joe Calzaghe. Why do you think he's so loved? Then let's flip the table. Why do people hate Tyson Fury? Why do people hate David Haye? Why do people hate Ben Whittaker? It's because England, we don't thrive on trash talking. We don't thrive on messy behavior, flashiness. You know what I mean? We're classy people. You know what I mean? We're fighting men. So with that being said, Liam Cameron is humble. The whole country is behind him. Anyway, let's get into the fight. I believe Ben Whittaker has the skill sets to beat Liam Cameron. You know what I mean? You don't become an Olympian for no reason. You know, I always say, if you are an Olympian, you're not an average Joe.
Yeah.
Does Ben Whittaker have the power to stop a Liam Cameron? Does he have the experience? Maybe 50-50. If Ben Whittaker can come 100% ready, because all up till now, the only thing that we kept hearing, I mean, even if you watch the sit down between the face-off, sit down with Johnny Nelson and Whittaker and Liam Cameron, the only thing we keep hearing is, oh, Ben Whittaker kept saying, I'm 100. That was my worst performance, blah, blah, blah. So if that was your worst performance, let's see what you're gonna bring in your best performance. And does he have the power to knock out Liam Cameron? I don't think so. Does Liam Cameron have the dog in him to beat a Ben Whittaker? Yes. Does Liam Cameron have the skill set to beat Ben Whittaker? I'd say yeah, to a certain extent. We're gonna see what happens on the rematch. I'm gonna give you a prediction, but this is a kind of prediction that it goes two ways. My brain is saying one thing and my heart is saying something else. My heart is rooting for Liam Cameron and my brain is saying Ben Whittaker.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So I'm going to give you a prediction. I predict that Ben Whittaker will win this fight on a points-based decision. But still, Liam Cameron is in a win-win situation. Win, lose, or draw, he will ultimately be the people's champion. And that's one thing I think boxers forget. The belt around your waist, the belt over your shoulder does not define you as a champion.
True.
It's the people that consider you as a champion.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? If the people accept you and the people vote for you as a champion, you are the true champion. The belt is meaningless. The belt is just materialistic. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's my prediction on that. So let me hear your prediction for this one as well.
Yeah, I've got the same prediction. I think Ben Whittaker is a skilled fighter. I don't think he was at his best that night, but I think that's partly to do with the fact that he was trying to go for the knockout. I think if he boxes on the back foot and boxes like he normally does, he boxes to a convincing points victory. I'd say unanimous. I don't think it'll be a split decision. It's not going to be close if he boxes properly. So I'm going to go with a unanimous points decision for Ben Whittaker.
All right then. All right then. Yes, my people, that is our episode done for today. I hope you enjoyed it. I do apologize for not being active for the past 2-3 weeks. That's all down to me. We are back on track. We are back in action. We are gonna bring you weekly content. You know what I mean? So you're gonna see our faces all over your FYP, most definitely. And if you made it to the end of the video, like the video, share the video, and most importantly, go and subscribe to our channel. You are watching Saved by the Bell. Me, our co-host Dark Side of the Moon, will catch you lot on the rebound. Bosh.
Peace.
Yes, my